Hey folks, I'm Mr. Hartzler and I want to talk to you about synthetic division. And it can be tricky, but I do think this is a little bit easier than long division. So let's get started here. But I actually want to start off with long division. I think it's easier to see the comparison when you see the first one first. I also want to point out here x cubed, and then we skip directly to negative 8x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that there's also 0x squareds in there. And then I'm going to write down the rest of what they gave me. This is incredibly important, especially when we get into synthetic division. All right, so let's do it long ways first, though. All right, we have all of this. Actually, I need to scoot it down more, don't I? I will run out of room if I don't. So x plus 3, and I'm dividing that into x cubed plus 0x squareds minus 8x's plus 3. I do think throwing in that 0x squareds is helpful when doing long division, but it is 100% necessary and required when doing synthetic. All right, x cubed. Divide it by x, I get x squared. I then distribute that into everything out front, and x squared times x gets me x cubed. X squared times 3, and I get 3x squareds. Wrap it up, subtract it away. I'm going kind of quick with the long division because we've done this before, right? Check out the other videos. And cancels, and this one, 0 minus 3 of them, and I get negative 3x squareds. And then everything else is just going to come right down, right? Negative 8x and a plus 3. Negative 3x squared divided by x, I get negative 3x. I distribute it to everything out in front, and I get a negative 3x squared minus 9x. Wrap it up, subtract it away. 3x squareds cancel. Good, they should. If not, something's wrong. Negative 8x minus a negative 9x, so double negatives. And that means I'm adding. So negative 8 plus 9 gets me positive x. And the 3 comes down. All right, how many times does x go into x? Sorry, x divided by x here. And I get 1. Right, there are 1s sitting in front of both of those. And then I distribute that 1, and I get x plus 3. Wrap it up, subtract it away. 0. Nice, no remainder. Okay, so for all of this, I end up with the answer, x squared minus 3x plus 1. That's my answer. Let's see what we do when we do long or synthetic division. For synthetic division, this after part, the x plus 3 that I'm dividing by, I need to set that equal to 0, and I need to solve for x. So I subtract my 3, and x equals negative 3. That negative 3 goes in this little, I call it a half box. Backwards L, whatever you want to call it. And keep in mind, too, I can only use synthetic division when there is a 1 out here in front of an x. It has to be 1x plus or minus some number. It has to be. Otherwise, I have to use long division. So there's a 3 there, which, again, is just the opposite of this thing, right? X plus 3, so it's the opposite of that. Then this chunk up here, the one where I wrote it out with that 0x squareds in there, I'm going to take all of their coefficients. So 1, 0, negative 8, 3. 1, 0, negative 8, 3. Negative 8. I turned my 3 into an 8. I just need to fix it. Negative 8, 3. So I literally just took my coefficients out. That's why it's very important that we write that x squared in there, that there's 0 of them. Now I'm going to always add up these two rows. I know there's not 2 rows yet because my first number comes straight down and I get a 1. Once I've dragged that down, I distribute the thing in my box to this number. Negative 3 times 1 gets me negative 3. I add straight down and I get a negative 3. Then I take that thing in my box, multiply to that number, and I get a positive 9. Oh, I should have done that arrow before. Let me fix that real quick. Oh, not red. I want pumpkin spice. All right, and then I'm adding straight down. Negative 8 plus 9 gets me 1. And then that 3 goes to that 1 and gets me a negative 3. And then I add straight down, and I get 0. Now it is important that I fill back in with all my x's. I started off with x to the 3rd power, and I'm dividing by x to the 1st power, right? If it's not written, it's assumed to be a 1. And if I have x cubed and I'm dividing by an x, that means I'm going to end up with x squared here. And that means the next one has to be an x, the next one has no x's, and the last one is what we call our remainder. And in this case, there's 0, just like over here. So that is important. I started off, right, the thing I was originally dividing by is a degree 3. The largest exponent on that first equation there is a 3. And then I'm dividing by something that is a degree 1. If I have a degree 3 and I'm dividing by a degree 1, I end up with a degree 2, which means a 2 is my largest exponent. Alrighty, and one more just for good measure. We'll only do this one with synthetic division, so that should be helpful. What thing goes in my little half box? This is x plus 4, so it's the opposite of that. So it's a minus 4 that goes in my box. Let's see, let's check and make sure this is all going down in order and I didn't skip any. X to the 5 and then 3. Okay, so I skipped one. So it's 0, x to the 4, and then so x to the 5th, to the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 0. Because that actually is x to the 0 power, which is kind of neat. We won't go into that. All right, so now I need to bring all those down. 1 from here, 0 from 0x to the 4th, negative 8, 24, 12, and then 40. Again, don't forget that 0. Okay, do this big line. And now my first number always comes straight down. And I do my ones weird sometimes. Judge me. I don't care. Negative 4 gets distributed to that 1, and I get a negative 4 here. I add straight down, and I get a negative 4. And then I take this negative 4, and I distribute to that negative 4, and I get positive 16. And I'm adding these up, so this is now a positive 8. Then, let's do yellow. I take this negative 4 and I distribute it to this. Oh, I shouldn't have put yellow and green next to each other. Those are really close together. And I get a negative, and that's 32. I add those up. 24, negative 32, and that's 8. And then I take that negative 4 and I distribute it to that negative 8. And I get a positive 32. Add those straight down, and I'm running out of color options. Do dark green now, I guess. 12 and 32 get me, what is that, 44? Let's see, let's make sure I didn't make a mistake in there. That's a negative. That was a positive. Negative 16, positive 8, and that gets me a negative 32, and that's 6, 7, 8, but it's negative, so that's positive 32, and that's 44. Yeah, okay. Cool, cool, cool. I think that should have been a 10. That would have been nicer if it was a 10. Yeah, oh well. I take that negative 4 and I distribute it to that 44. Oh, I need to write that off to the side. That's 16, so that's 70. So 176, 176. But it's negative. And then I add those up, and I get negative 136. Then I have to bring in all my x values. So now I had a degree 5, and I lost a degree. So now it's a 4 minus 4x to the 3rd. And they all keep going down in order then after that. And that 136, I have not yet divided by an x plus 4, right? By that thing. I have not yet divided by that. So we're good. We're calling it right like that. That's how I'm going to write my remainder. I could have also written r negative 136 instead of that, right? Those two things are kind of interchangeable. Alrighty, folks. That is it. I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. And if you happen to find a mistake back here, I don't know, drop it in a comment, but I probably won't fix it. Bye, everybody.